Hello there, and welcome back to yet another episode of the Devlog series for SCP The Cycle. This week, I've got some exciting news and quite some progress to show you, so let's get right into it. First of all, as I've talked about last week, I've been updating existing sprites into the new art style. Almost all the sprites that I had, which include walls, doors, a desk, a cabinet, and a rubbish bin, have now been successfully converted. I've decided to scrap the plants for now, as I think that it doesn't fit with the aesthetic of the game. The most tedious bit of this process was the doors. Before, I used a built-in animation function that could move a sprite to the right or the left, which I used to animate the doors that were just rectangles back then. In this new style, however, the doors are a bit more complicated, and thus need manual animation as a result. In short, I made an animation where I moved the door by 1 pixel for each frame for almost 100 frames. I'm really glad I don't have to do that anymore. Another issue regarding the doors was a bug that would occur when you'd close the door while the player's hitbox was still inside. When this happened, it violently threw the player out of the door, and most of the time, the player would get teleported into a nearby wall, causing him to be stuck. This has now been addressed so that the door gently moves you out of the way when you're still inside when it closes. There's only a small chance of this happening, but if it were to occur, it has a solution. Moving on to the interaction system. Before, an object would become transparent and the letter E would hover above it to indicate that it was in range to be interacted with. This has been adjusted so that this fade doesn't happen instantaneously, but rather as a gradual fade out. This change has also been applied to the transparent walls. Next up, the NPC Pathfinding system. By far the largest update for this week is the pathfinding system for the NPCs. This is based on a grid system that is a built-in function in GameMaker. This here is a visual representation of that grid. The red areas are areas in which the NPC is not allowed to walk, which would be walls for example. Then, by using the pathing system, I can make the NPC walk towards the player while having it avoid the red areas on the grid. Another small thing, doors work dynamically in this system. I've made it so that a door will appear red when it is in its closed state and green when it is in its open state. The X and Y position of the NPC had to be adjusted for this system, as the system will only check whether the X and Y position isn't in a red area. In other words, when the X and Y position is in the center of the sprite, the NPC will appear to walk through this door as its X and Y position isn't in a red zone, when it really is supposed to be. This point then has been changed to the bottom of the sprite so that the NPC will walk through the door correctly. Lastly, I fixed the bug where the player would be drawn in front of an object when it really is in the back. This again is related to the X and Y position, which is what the depth of the sprite is based on. This depth is now based on the bottom of the sprite instead of the center. Then, after these changes, I've got some exciting news to tell. One of my friends will be contributing to the game. He'll be making some art, mainly of the characters, as well as helping me out with realizing the story. He's already made some sprites for the MTF, or Mobile Task Force units, shown on the screen right now. Another thing that we've been doing is making more preparations for story development. We've been setting up a document which includes character descriptions and relationships, which helps tremendously in organizing all the work that goes into writing the story. Now then, moving on to the goals for next week. I'm hoping to include some more sprites into the new art style to make the area feel more alive. I'm also hoping on polishing up the NPC system. Then, when the base work is done, I want to get working on recreating and expanding on what I had for the first chapter. And that was it for this week's episode. As always, I'm very open to suggestions, so do leave some feedback in the comments. If you want to keep up to date with the progress, consider subscribing. Bye for now, and I'll see you in the next one.